tax-free money. The next order is plan for tax-deferred money. Then the next money is plan for taxable money. But the thing that what happens is that all of us will go from free money, if our all is in it when we receive it, straight to tax-deferred money. We'll skip right over number 2. Whereas number 2 is where the rich, the 1%, again, the Greeks or whatever it is, have their money. They plan first to make sure that, excuse me, they plan first to make sure that whatever money they're putting away, whatever they're building, Uncle Sam is no longer going to be a partner to share in that money. So most people will go from number 1 straight to number 3. And just like I mentioned about without making 100,000, any money, any contribution above the match of 401k plan becomes tax-deferred money and skip completely number 2 what we just talked about. And you're simply just compounding the problem. Here's the power of taxation. Here's the power of taxation. 2 different screens. One on the left, one on the right. Same period, 20-year period. One person is investing in CDs. Now, we have plenty of places where we can put our money. Plenty. We'll have CDs, savings accounts, money market, mutual fund stuff, and all of that stuff. Every time you put money in there, at the end of the year, they give you a little 1099 INT. Like you just said, Heather just said that, I think it was Heather or Val. She put money into an IRA, and they gave her a 10% or $10 interest and charged her $150. Okay, that at least it happened that that $10 that they paid her, at least was in a deferred account IRA, but it was in regular savings. She would take that same $10 that they paid her and come and report it on her taxes. In addition to the $150 that she was being charged by the company, she would report the $10 on her taxes, and then taxes will come out of it. Perfect case. I did a tax return for a young lady, at about $40,000. That's a gross income. She came and said, well, you know, I have a CD and they paid me $74. So, okay. So I worked it out. So I just wanted to see something. After I prepared the taxes, I didn't put in the $74 into my tax system. There was a little amount of refund that she was getting back. Now I put in the $74 because you have to pay taxes on it. Taxes on both federal and state was $12 of that 74. That was 16%. $12 to $74 is 16%. That means they paid her $74, but she had to pay 16% in taxes. Why is this important? This screen. Where you put your money is going to determine whether you retire wealthy or not. Taxes were hidden. There's the 2 screens here. This person, the same period. Period 1 through 20. Put in the same amount of money, $2, but as it's being taxed, as you're earning it, it's being taxed. All of that, banks, CDs, and all of that will be taxed. 20 years later, this person, because all of everything he or she was getting, at the end of 20 period, she has $57,000 sitting in that account because taxes were eating up everything. We're not even talking inflation. Now this person decides that, okay, no, I'm going to put my money into a tax. Number 2 that we talked about, people go from number 1 and skip number 1 to number 3. So I'm going to put my money in a tax-free account. Tax-free account, municipal bonds, Roth, IRS, tax-free life insurance contract. Because when you put these things in here, at the end of the year, they don't send you a 1099 interest to go and make tax. Because you already paid the taxes up front before putting money in here. Now, 20 periods later, because you took care of it up front, look at a huge difference. I don't want that because I know I can retire with that. At least it will help me much better. If we take this and divide it by this to see how many times over. Taxes and inflation will eat up everything you have if you don't plan well. Go ahead. Question? Yes, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My question is the left-hand column. Is the reason why people, as a conventional concept, put money into bank CDs, savings accounts, money markets, mutual funds, and stocks is because of liquidity and access? Ease of access?
Ease of access, lack of understanding other vehicles that would do better not saying we don't have them, but what you don't want to do is try to accumulate large sums of money there. That's not where it's not gonna grow your money in any significance whatsoever. So what you're saying is, looking at the period of compounding, that's your best friend, and to make money, is compounding interest. And as long as the money that is not, as long as you don't have to pay taxes, that money's not being, taken out to pay taxes, it can grow much faster, because with the principle of compounding.
Just a quick story, I had a girlfriend who was a realtor back in the 80s, and she used to take the money that she made as her commissions when she had sales, and she put it into money market. It was a different climate for money market back in those days, and then she would pay the taxes that she owed on the commissions that she earned out of her money market account, which I guess was a vehicle that worked then, but won't work now because the
People still do that.
But just think about what you just said. She used to pay taxes out of the money market account
correct.
from the commission. That's exactly what is happening. So when she put the money that was growing, because she had to pay those taxes, she was not forced to go into that money market account, or wherever, to mutual fund, wherever she had that money, and took it out.
You have to pay additional taxes on like early withdrawal or whatever from some of these, like CDs or.
No, it depends on the CD. If you do a CD that has maturity, I mean, the bank will do that. But we'll talk about early withdrawals and the other stuff. But the point that we're driving here is that depending on where you put your money, the tax code is available for any one of us to use. Each and every one of us have the tax code to use. We just have to find ways to use it to benefit each and every one of us. So, depending on where you put your money, if you put it in a taxable events, this is what will happen. So for example, in this case, in a 20-year period, that's what will happen. The same amount of money. Why? Because it's not compounding. You're taking money out to pay taxes. Taking money out, they're taxing you all along. But when you put it in the other one, the effect of compound interest. So again, expanding back on this thing, the whole thing is, we'll have this thing here, pay taxes now, pay taxes later, or pay taxes never. Which column do you want to be in?
Never.
Exactly. Exactly. All of us want to be in the never column. And paying taxes now, we just talked about it again. Mutual fund, stock savings account, money market, and all of that. Go on. Pay taxes later, traditional IRS, 401k, 403b, steps, fixed savings plans, and all of that. Pay taxes never. Meaning, Roth, life insurance contracts, good ones. Go ahead. Truth number 4. I'll let my partner drive you for truth number 4. And we're trying to share with you all of this so you really get an opportunity to see what is really happening. And then that way, you can say, okay, now I think I got all the information. I can really sit down and start really putting things together.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't have a job, like we're real estate investors,
Yes.
can you put money into a Roth, or you have to have a job?
You don't have to have a job to put money into the Roth.
No, okay, good.
No. Because you're not taking a deduction.
Right.
But doesn't it have to be earned income? That's what I've always been told.
For a Roth,
Yeah.
it's a retirement account.
I know, but you have to earn the funds that get contributed, which isn't that kind of what?
Well, remember, they said Roth is a non-deductible thing on your tax return. True? Okay. So if you go and put $5,000 in a Roth account, because you're not taking a deduction, it would put you already pay taxes on whatever before you brought that net money in. Okay? So yeah, you can put money into a Roth. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that being said, you're gonna have to identify to us who's gonna set that up, because I know I've gone to, for example, Equity Trust, who are self-directed IRAs, for a Roth, and they told me I had to have a W-2 in order to set it up.
That's my experience too, I've tried it.
We can look it up again, just in case we want to make sure that we're not
Traditional.
reporting anything, letting you have anything, any misinformation. But yeah, that's something we can look up and then be able to work with. Yes.
One of the things I wanted to jump on and go back with, James did a great job explaining the problem with taking your money and putting it into something like a CD or a bank or a savings account, because you get that 1099, right? And you go pay taxes on money that you earn interest on. The other thing too is you got to remember, there's another issue here that we have to look at. Looking at safety. Now, when you have a savings account, you have a bank account, you are FDIC protected, right? Which is nice, because that means if the bank goes right, if the bank goes under, you are insured up to $250,000, but they even can go up to what, $1 million
Right.
if you're structured properly in the banks. But what you're not protected from in something like a savings account or a CD or a money market is you're not protected from creditors. You're not protected from creditors. Because, I mean, I don't really put your hand up, but maybe someone you know has received a garnishment or a lien on a bank account. Now, I used to work at the bank, and that is not fun. When someone walks into the bank, they're like, "Yeah, I need $1,500," and that red screen comes up, and you have to say you have to call the attorney. That someone put a lien or a judgment was put against them. That money is not protected because it can be liened. Someone can place a lien on your money, completely exposed to creditors. That's one thing that you got to remember. Now, so if someone says, all right, well, I don't want to sit there with complete exposure, let me think about putting my money someplace else. You know, let's put it in a tax-deferred account. Well, that's nice and all, because now you have the garage protection of, the federal government. It's protected from certain, things like liens and garnishments. One of the things that I tell people is the tax-deferred one is kind of like you've got your Ferrari or whatever your favorite car is, and you say, okay, you drive into the garage and you hand the valet guy your keys, and you say, okay, I want to protect it. I don't want to leave it on the street so someone can just come in and take my money. I'm going to park in this garage to protect it. And that's great and all because it is protected now. But the problem is when you hand your keys to the valet, you say, oh, how much is the parking fee here? And he goes, don't worry about it. We'll settle up when we come back. So, yeah, exactly. So, like, you're like, oh, heck no, I'm not doing that one. So now you're moving over here to a place where you're in, Neverland land. So there are some great opportunities here, and Kevin and I were talking at the break. We're going to get into it really quick. But just besides the fact of where you pay the taxes, you got to remember also, your exposure level in some of these accounts as well. So, having, $100,000, $300,000, we hope you don't get sued. We hope you don't get garnished or anything like that, but it's nice to make sure if you do, they can't just come and place an attachment onto your accounts. So that's another little piece that we want to consider. Truth 4. Social Security is not secure. And again, we're talking to a great group here today because you guys are not sitting here expecting your Social Security check to take care of your bills. I assume this is part of the reason you're here as investors. And it's not secure. Does anyone still get a Social Security statement? You guys get it? Do you ever look at it?
Not really.
You read it? It talks about how much money you're going to get and all that kind of stuff?
I don't read it.
Yeah?
Can I just give you an example? My
Yes.
mother, who is I'll give you two examples. My mother, who's self-employed, from 78 to now, her Social Security is $500 a month. My grandmother, who never worked outside of the house, she got $1,000 a month.
Oh.
So she never worked, she got $1,000, but my mother,
Who did work?
for herself, hers is $500.
Exactly.
Well, was either one of them married? I mean, well,
Your
they must
grandmother.
have.
My grandmother was married.
Because Social Security you can draw on what you did outside the house or your spouse,
Survivor benefit.
if whichever is greater, and if you had more than one spouse that you're married to for more than 10 years, you can pick the greatest one.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I spent a whole seminar
Yeah.
with those guys. The thing that boggles me when I look at my statement is it's got a figure here, and then if I got disabled tomorrow, the figure here is a little higher than the figure there.
Yeah, it makes you want to go break a leg or
Trying to
something.
figure out why is it that way? It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Right. Well, if you go home and you pull out your statement just to see what it would look like, what you would get, I want you to close it, and I want you to read the very front cover. And it will tell you, front page, in 2017, we will begin paying more in benefits than we collect in taxes. This is on the front page of on all of our statements. It's on the front page. Without changes, by 2041, the Social Security Trust Fund will be exhausted, and there will be enough money to pay only about 78 cents for each dollar of scheduled benefits. We need to resolve these issues soon to make sure Social Security continues to provide a foundation of protection for future generations. This is on the front page of your Social Security statement. They're not even hiding it. So when If you weren't paying attention, you know how you get in, you're looking at the numbers and everything, like, oh, okay, this is what I'm gonna make. No, back up. I understand they're sounding the alarm now and saying there's a problem. The problem is this is an old slide, so this is a little bit it's outdated. And if you read it now, it says by 2037, and it's not 78 cents, it's 74 cents. Okay, so it means that we're going broke quicker. So you look at your new statement, it's going to be updated from there.
Well, they tell you don't take it out until you're 65. Which keeps changing. It's okay, if you took that at 62, you may probably, if you just got 10,000 a year, at 30,000, it takes the next 10 or 15 years to even catch up. By then, most people are dead.
Yes.
So if the government says do it, well,
No, that's a good. That's a good
right.
philosophy. Yeah.
That's right.
And the problem is, well, the system was set up poorly. It was a great idea, but what happened was back in the 60s, there were more workers for every retiree. And so now the pyramid is inverted. And so now we've got only 2 workers. By the time 2020, 2029, we only have 2 workers for every retiree.
Well, now, my wife and I had 7 kids, so we contributed to more workers. So
You've done
that's
your due diligence. We appreciate your contributions.
Yeah, but if they follow in your footsteps, they won't be working for W-2.
That's very true.
Well, that's true, they won't.
That's very true.
There
And
you
hopefully there you go.
And they won't care about Social Security either.
That's the goal.
right.
So, I mean, the numbers are staggering, and again, you guys are different from the norm. So, you know, we have people, a group today, that are not considered or waiting for Social Security to mature so that they can live their golden years. So that's wonderful, because the figures are staggering. The saddest part is, I meet a lot of these people, I see them every day. You see they're 70 years old and they're working someplace they have no desire to work. Because 33% of them, they rely on Social Security for 90% of their income. That's the truth. So, you know, I always tell people, anyone you're 40 or below, don't even think about using Social Security as your crutch. It used to be Social Security, a pension, and maybe they included the 401k or a tax-deferred plan. That was supposed to be your 3-legged stool to create retirement. For you guys are building portfolios, okay? You're building portfolios of real estate to grow, to invest, to flip, to create streams of rental income, what have you. Great. Your other leg on the stool is not going to be Social Security. I mean, if it comes, wonderful. But also with Social Security, the problem is if you make too much money, you're not going to get it anyway. Does anyone know the maximum taxation on Social Security?
106.
Is it 106? No, it's 85%.
No, yeah, 106. You're talking.
Oh,
He's
well,
right.
okay.
You're right. Yeah. For you to pay Social Security, just to talk briefly about Social Security, to tell you how taxes are going up all the time. Back in the 80s, there used to be a cap up to about, I think it went up every year, but back in the 80s, maybe 85, 86, it was like $87,000 that you pay Social Security taxes when you work wages. 87,000 something. So when you make